So, I'm gonna be honest and say I've kind of been lying to you. You see, I've been saying that, I've been busy with, stuff and whatnot, but the truth is, I've been dealing with a lot of anxiety surrounding some personal stuff, so that's kind of why 31 Nights is extending into November. And I didn't really want to discuss it because obviously they were personal. That being said, let's do something that I've been meaning to do for a while. So, you remember when I used to review episodes of The Haunting Hour? Yeah, I miss those too. But I want to plan something big since it's been so long, so I intend to come back better than ever. Anyway, for now, let's take a look at my top 6 favorite episodes. Why top 6? Because Satan. Number 6. Mascot. This episode centers on two boys who plan to replace their school mascot, Big Yellow, with a better one. Only problem is, Big Yellow is not willing to give up his role that easily, and when his rival suddenly ends up missing, the main protagonist, Willie, becomes determined to find out who Big Yellow really is, but the answer might be a lot more disturbing than he thought. Even putting aside that extremely unsettling and shocking ending, this episode manages to be very eerie. I mean, don't get me wrong, Big Yellow's design is somewhat goofy looking, but when shot at the right angles, he can look really intimidating. Because there are times when he just looks really out of place, such as the scene where he's following Wolfie home. Just seeing a mascot following you home at night is just really creepy to think about, since it just feels so off and gives the impression of some creepy stalker following you. This episode also has some very impressive cinematography, such as the shot of Big Yellow's dressing room door, and the shot where he is sitting in the gym waiting for Willie. I also love the slight Lynchian vibe this episode had, since it takes something as mundane as a school mascot and manages to make it something very sinister. Kinda like how David Lynch does with his films, rest in peace by the way, by taking ordinary things and making them creepy. Honestly, this episode is more than deserving of the hype surrounding it. Number 5. Uncle Howie. This was another episode with a major David Lynch tone, and was an episode that genuinely gave me chills when I first watched it. Especially that very grim twist. For starters, I used to have this fear as a kid that the people on my TV screen could also see me too, and this episode more than tapped into that by having Uncle Howie directly interact with Jared and Cynthia. And the performance of Tom Kenny, yeah, you heard right, the guy who voices the Ice King and SpongeBob is in this, as Uncle Howie was fantastic, since he finds a perfect balance between being extremely funny, but also very menacing. He also has a surprisingly catchy theme song. My only complaint is that the acting from Jared was kind of stale. I feel like he could have shown a lot more fear in some scenes, although he does get somewhat emotional at the end. I actually think the actor Liam James was a lot better in Pumpkinhead in terms of performance. Thankfully, he has gotten a lot better and was pretty damn good in The Way Back. Not much else to say, but what an extremely fun episode with a good scary edge that manages to balance both horror and comedy very well. Number 4. Checking Out. This is a very well crafted tale written by Melody Fox. Now, I should clarify that I do not think Melody Fox is a bad writer despite my attitude towards some of her work, such as Mrs. Worthington. In fact, she contributed some really great episodes to this show, such as this one, My Imaginary Friend, and Lights Out. It's just that her last couple episodes were not all that good. Kind of makes me wish the show lasted longer, since she would be able to go out with a bang. Anyway, this episode centers on a family who decides to stay in a mysterious hotel, only for the main protagonists to discover that the hotel has a mysterious power that makes parents turn on their children. This is a really scary episode from start to finish. I mean, as bland as the Nightmare Room episode Don't Forget Me was, it still tapped into a very scary idea of being a kid and having your own family forget who you are. But this episode more than amps it up by making it so that your parents end up turning against you, and eventually want to get rid of you altogether. And the affinity the hotel staff has for children is also very unsettling. What eventually happens to kids at the hotel definitely adds to the disturbing vibe. My only complaint is that the ending is somewhat abrupt, but I feel like that was meant to make you ponder on the outcome of everything, and to make you come up with your own theories on the aftermath of everything. Not much else to say, but wow, what a well crafted and chilling episode. Number 3. Really You. This was the pilot to this series and centers on a spoiled young girl named Lily, who ends up getting a custom made life size doll of herself named Lily D, only to discover that the doll is alive and is jealous of her life. This episode did everything right in terms of horror. For starters, Lily D's design is really creepy, definitely up there with Big Yellow's design, since she just has this really blank face that makes it feel as though she's looking right at you. And the fact that she stays silent for a majority of the episode only adds to the creepy vibe surrounding her. And her plans concerning her human counterpart Lily only adds to this, since she does these really destructive acts that make it seem like Lily did it. And the way her mother treats her own daughter like a villain because of this only adds to the horror factor and gives you an idea of just how much of a toll this is all taking on Lily. Hell, Lily actually breaks down crying in some areas. Part of the horror definitely comes from how much this whole thing is affecting this poor girl, and how she pretty much just has nobody to turn to with all of this, so that makes her you fear for her safety. Doesn't help that her mother literally starts being extremely cold toward her. Not much else to say, but what an awesome fucking way to kick off the series. Number 2. My Old House. While the concept of this episode might seem a tad silly, they managed to pull it off in a surprisingly unnerving way. The episode centers on a young girl named Alice who is upset about moving out of her old house. And no, it's not the fact she's leaving some precious memories behind, although that probably is part of it, but rather because she's going to miss the house itself. Yeah, you heard right, she actually has an attachment to her house. And the house is revealed to be alive and is as well and isn't planning to let Alice go. So, once Alice sneaks back to her old house, the house intends to do everything it can so that she can be with it forever. This episode has a lot of creepy vibes surrounding it. Alice's attachment to the house gets to very disturbing levels, and the way the house practically obsesses over her gets very unsettling since it basically borders on predatory. The fact that it has literally seen everything she has done helps with the horror, since it ends up learning so much about her because of this and even gives some really disturbing implications. The transformation the house goes through at the end is also somewhat creepy despite being CGI. Themes of the episode also help with how creepy it is, since it seems to be a commentary on toxic relationships and how hard it can be to leave them. Tack on a horrifying ending and you got yourself a truly disturbing tale. Oh, and to all the My Little Pony fans, the voice behind this character is in this episode as well. And now, here are some honorable mentions. Brush with Madness. A highly suspenseful tale with a surprisingly creepy villain due to how grounded in reality he is, despite the supernatural elements. The Perfect Brother. A well-crafted tale about how people seem to place unfair expectations on perfection, and the toll that has on some people. Sick. A really confusing episode that actually manages to work because of how confusing it is. Lots of Luck. A brilliantly well-crafted tale of a boy and his leprechaun. My Imaginary Friend. An episode that has a very strong message about growing up in loneliness, since the main protagonist creates a pretend pal to cope with how distant he feels from everyone. Toy Train. A powerful story about how much one's past can weigh someone down and how it can start to affect those around them. And while some might not find this episode scary, there are some very chilling moments that I would even put up there with Jack Clayton's The Innocents. Flight. A nicely woven, heart-wrenching tale about regret, redemption, and death, all taking place thousands of feet in the air. The Girl in the Painting. A brilliantly written story about the importance of considering how things might just be too good to be true. The Funhouse. A surprisingly emotional tale about addiction and how unchecked rage and anger can slowly start to change you, both metaphorically and physically. The Cast. A good psychological body horror tale that genuinely made me uncomfortable in some areas. Also a nice tribute to Edgar Allan Poe. Scarecrow. I really can't do this episode justice just by talking about it, but if you want to see just how good Haunting Hour can get, like in a cinematic sense, then go check it out. It's also a surprisingly deep and philosophical episode for having such a simple premise. This definitely would have made the list if it were a little longer. Headshot, a well written deal with the devil type story. And now, it's time for my number one favorite episode. Grandpa's Glasses. This episode does so good in so many areas. A well told story? Check. Fully fleshed out characters? Check. An extremely horrifying monster? Check. A tear-jerking climax? Check. This episode centers on a boy named Bo who is helping his mother clean out his late grandfather's house, whom he has never met. While he is exploring, he puts on a pair of glasses that give him the power to see a hideous creature prowling the house. What's worse is that the glasses become stuck to his face, and the creature in question now intends to harm him. This is an episode that actually managed to drive me to tears. And I feel bad that I can't mention too much of why, since I feel like I might be spoiling it. But let's just say there is a reason why Bo has never had a chance to meet his grandfather, and it truly is heartbreaking. This is quite possibly one of the most mature episodes of the show next to Toy Train, mainly due to the themes, and it deals with them in the best possible way. This episode also manages to be surprisingly really scary. Like, the demon is just so unnerving to watch, mainly due to how animalistic it gets at times. And the way the demon is meant to represent repressed childhood trauma and regret was also done very well. This also has some amazing development and actually gives these characters a lot of depth because of it. Not much else to say, but it's one of the best due to not only being genuinely scary in some areas, but also due to the message about abandonment and what that can do to someone, and how holding on to stuff can start to affect those around you. And that was my top 6 favorite episodes of R.L. Stine's The Haunting Hour. I honestly feel like R.L. Stine was cheated simply due to how quick this discovery was to end the show. Especially since supposedly the last season was meant to be 16, I think at least 16 episodes instead of just 10. But given the slowly growing popularity of this show, it gives me hope that one day it might come back. In fact, that hope has only grown stronger with the release of the new Pumpkinhead movie. Anyway, thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and sub for more content.